That's great. We have a question from Phil Walton here. Dave, what industries do you primarily focus on to sell your products, services, and solutions to?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So it's primarily the enterprise tech business. So we don't do a lot of Apple gadgets. That's really not our thing. But infrastructure and cloud. So think of the infrastructure and cloud stack, if you will. So storage, compute, middleware, database, and then above that, applications, different vertical applications. We've definitely got into blockchain and crypto and metaverse, and I know it's kind of out of favor now, but the fundamental technology we're still big believers in, and increasingly fintech and health tech, because everything's tech, everything's enterprise tech. So those tech-oriented industries have sort of gravitated toward what we do, which is essentially help people get the word out about their stories.
Oh, awesome. And back maybe on the cloud piece. So I saw AWS is working with Goldman to do a financial services data cloud, and then Goldman's leveraging that, and then they're actually offering it to other financial institutions, right? So it's not only just the baseline of doing the cloud for yourself, but it's now kind of building upon that.
And this is a huge trend that we see, and it's how we kind of coined the term Supercloud. It's basically the idea that you have tools and software that you've developed, it's IP, and it's particularly acute in the financial services industry. Goldman, NASDAQ, Capital One, Western Union is another example, where they have these tools and processes that are best in class, and they're doing what AWS did. They're bringing those tools to the cloud. Maybe they're doing a hybrid connection, into the AWS cloud or Azure or GCP or multiple clouds, and they're kind of pointing that at the world and saying, we're going to now make this available. We're going to monetize that capability, that data and that stuff. So everybody's becoming a software company, as Andreessen says, and everybody is using the cloud to expose that software and that monetization strategy to their customers.
Yeah. And then I saw a bunch of different things you've written about, but Databricks, the CEO was talking about, way back when they started, they could basically just use a credit card, and all of a sudden they're on the map with AWS, and then now they're leveraging that to build kind of ISVs on top of their platform with your kind of super cloud concept, right?
Yeah, Ali Ghodsi, he's an amazing CEO, and you're right. They started Databricks basically as a way to kind of make Hadoop better. They're the ones behind Spark, out of Berkeley, and exactly right, Randy. I mean, we asked Ali Ghodsi, do you see yourself as an ISV? And he's like, well, no, not really. We're a platform, and we have ISVs writing applications on top of our platform. Whereas it's interesting. I mean, you talk to AWS, they're like, no, they're ISVs, and so. What we see, that's why this super cloud concept is it's a cloud above the clouds where you're using cloud and software to actually present services to your customers and monetize them.
Oh, that's amazing. And then next kind of title, anything else on the data in the cloud before we move on? Do you want to mention?
The last thing I'd say is I think you're going to see a major change in how data is used. It's going to be in the hands of the domain experts, the business people. It's going to be increasingly, it's already decentralized physically, but increasingly organizations are going to be able to use data in new ways. And I think the second thing, Randy, is with AI and machine learning, whereas today you think about a CRM system, you're entering data into an opportunity, your leads or whatever it is, and a lot of that is human. And some of that's automated, of course, but you're entering information into a form, you're automating a process. Increasingly, you're going to see data apps where the machine is going into the transactions and maybe the e-commerce system, the ERP system, evaluating and the machine is going to develop programs and plans without humans and present that to humans. And that's going to be a big change. It's like Uber for people, places, and things. I think you're going to see that certainly this decade.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing talk about I'll say maybe the consumer side of it, the whole chat GBT or whatever it's called, being able to have them write anything, and hear about the college kids, for paper. It's like, holy moly, it's just crazy.
Chat GPT writes better than I do, and I write a lot. It's like a little shrinkage when you go into Chat GPT.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then back on, kind of AI, it seems like it's been kind of, kind of growing. So would you say now kind of AI is kind of, mainstream, and thinking of, we mentioned Chris Riley before, right? So Data Robot, one of the, enterprise leaders there for AI.
Yeah, I think, data and AI to me go together, and successful data companies, data-driven companies, we hear that buzzword all the time, but they're able to put data at the core of their business, as opposed to kind of data in silos around, or, in the periphery. And I think that generally speaking, companies like Data Robot are going to provide tooling to organizations so that they can build AI and data and make it at the center of their business, not necessarily physically, but be able to make data-driven decisions and have machines act on their behalf using data.
Yeah, but ultimately you have to, it's not just because it's cool, right? But there's got to be an ROI, there's got to be value there for leveraging AI kind of for these enterprise companies.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point that you're intimating, is that a lot of AI has been experimentation, kicking the tires and getting the technology to work, kind of like I was saying before, around data. And the real opportunity is you got to focus on areas that are going to give you more immediate returns. And it's been elusive. I will tell you, just looking at the data, most organizations aren't really thrilled with their AI initiatives. That said, AI is just going to be embedded. You're not necessarily, most organizations aren't going to build out AI. They're going to buy applications that have AI embedded into them. Salesforce Einstein is a simple example, but I think you're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, I do some work with Chris and Data Robot, and just for what it's worth, Tucker, maybe you can pull up the Data Robot website, and they've got some amazing, just industry use cases. I mean, you could basically pull the industry, and then it has, I always say, if I'm a CFO, kind of what's the value, and they've got a lot of great content there just for what it's worth. So maybe tied into that is kind of value and ROI is kind of IT spending trends. So it seems like, if I'm a CIO, I'm probably in a holding pattern, but now there's this whole data monetization concept. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So just some of the numbers at the macro level. We exited 2021 with CIOs expecting 8% growth in 2022 for their spending. And that was before Ukraine and before Fed tightening. By the summer, that number was down to 6.5%. In December, it was 4%. And now in Q1, they're looking at 3%. So, nobody really knows. I call it the seesaw economy. Jamie Dimon's out today is saying that the hurricane that he predicted, maybe not so bad. NASDAQ's acting better. And I think you have this expectation during the pandemic was like, wow, tech, the run is never going to end. Semiconductor shortages, supply chain, and then all of a sudden there's this big pullback. And so I think you're going to see the seesaw action. But having said that, while people are sort of tapping the brakes, if it generates revenue, they're ready to go. So they're putting on hold projects that are maybe a modernization project of some back end, mainframe hairball. But they are ready to lean into big time anything that drives ROI and business value.
Yeah. And what do you think is that timing on the ROI window?
I mean, they definitely want to see stuff that's inside of a year for sure. If there's inside of 6 months, it has a much higher probability of getting funded.
Yeah, that's great. So that maybe ties in well with Decision Link. So they're a kind of value selling platform, and typically everybody has kind of spreadsheets, and you got to do this back and forth with customers to figure it out. And the kind of utopia or home run in sales, which Decision Link can help with as a value selling platform, is working with customers to then come up with kind of what is that value. So ultimately, I always say, if you're in the elevator with a CFO and you have 30 seconds or 20 seconds, what are you going to say? It's not a bunch of techno, mumbo jumbo, as Jeff Goldberg, rest in peace, taught us all years ago. But it's kind of, what are you going to do to help generate revenue, save money, get a competitive advantage? In the case of compliance, stay out of jail, right? And those are usually much more objective, dollar-centric things. It's not speed and feeds. So I assume you're in violent agreement.
100%. I mean, it's all about the value. What is it going to do for what's in it for me, as they say? And I think a lot of times, you know, salespeople just they go down into oh, this widget does this, that, or the other thing, and it's like, okay, who cares? What does it do for my business? How does it increase my revenue, drive profits, improve my productivity? You know, show me.
Yeah, show me, baby. All right, so we have from Phil, who I think Phil's got his fingers in a bunch, but some fintech things as well. But anyway, he asks, data analytics and AI are at the forefront of every company's strategies, and the ability to use the data and analyze it with low-code, no-code solutions is critical. How are you working with companies to enhance these solutions? So do you actually work with the companies to enhance, or you kind of more just, I'll say, reporting the news?
So our value proposition is to really try to explain to people, you know, what a technology is, what it can do for your business, how to apply it to your business, and try to inspire them to action. And the way we do that is we take the smartest people within our community and our client base, bring them into the cube, and have conversations with them, and challenge them to explain. This is the way we're talking about. What is the value to the business, and how do I get started? What are the roadblocks? What are the gotchas? You know, what's the best advice that you have? And what's the right fit for that technology? And so that's what we do. And I think we do it better than anybody else out there.
Great question, Phil. Thanks. And just a reminder for those watching or listening along, feel free to ask any other questions or post any comments. So another piece you had written about was Palo Alto Networks earning their reputation as a leader in security. Certainly, it's a crazy crowded space, and startups popping up everywhere. So why do you think Palo Alto's emerged so well?
Well, their founder, Nir Zuk, he's this Israeli startup, a startup nation guy, came to the United States, and he just looked at the security business, obviously an expert in that, and said, this thing is so broken. And so he started with firewalls, but just the firewall function was in the hardware. Everything else he did in software, he put it in the cloud. At the time, it was their cloud, and he took a software SaaS approach to the business. And there are others that are doing this, but Palo Alto is, I think, really opinionated and one of the leaders. And so what they've done is, rather than have a bunch of bespoke tools to try to solve the problem du jour, has come out with an architecture that does a variety of different things. Not only the firewall, but other firewall functions. It could do, whether it's endpoint or cloud security or network security, and do so in a single architecture. They've made a lot of acquisitions, and they just essentially have become the gold standard in cybersecurity. Now, there are other really great companies, CrowdStrike, Okta, CyberArk is a local company. And so, but there are just too many companies in cyber, and I think Palo Alto has a really excellent high-value strategy to consolidate those tools. BJ Jenkins is there now as president. He's an amazing go-to-market exec. And their story is very strong, and their technology is top shelf.
Yeah. Great team. Rick Condon running sales. Jazz Sood has enterprise sales. Carl Sutherland channel, really strong team, which is obviously you need the technology, plus you need a great team go to market there for sure. So Dave Donatelli must be on the road. So he says, please ask Dave for his take on the cloud wars between AWS, Microsoft, Google, and Oracle, strengths and weaknesses of each. And I'll just emphasize briefly.
I love that question. AWS has got the best infrastructure cloud. Microsoft's coming at it from their strength in productivity software and applications. Google has to get its go-to-market act together. It doesn't know how to sell, in my opinion, properly, and it's losing too much money. And I'd say Oracle has the best cloud for mission-critical data. And I think Ellison's strategy, and in part Donatelli's strategy around the Oracle cloud, I think is brilliant. Everybody loves to crap on Oracle, but if you want to run mission-critical apps in the cloud, the Oracle cloud is the best place to do it. And I think they had the right strategy. He didn't mention IBM, because IBM is kind of not really a factor in the cloud, other than for selective cases. Yeah,
it's crazy, isn't it?
Unreal.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, it's interesting. So the Google, right? I'm active in the enterprise go-to-market sales space, but you would think they'd be able to, for lack of better words, get out of their own way because there's so much talent and proven processes out there in terms of what you do and how you do it, and it's a great name, so you can get an app out with anybody.
Google has awesome tech. I got to believe Thomas Kurian's really frustrated that he coming from a go-to-market, maven like Oracle comes to Google where it's like they reject the sales organ. It's an engineering culture and it's very challenging. I was talking to a practitioner the other day, Randy, who said, Snowflake and AWS, they work together. I can use AWS's, SageMaker AI tools inside of Snowflake, but if I want to use Google's AI tools, which are the best, with Snowflake, I can't. I have to use Google BigQuery. So even partnerships like that, they still got to figure out. And I think they will. But I think losing $3 billion a year, whatever they're losing, is not ideal.